So what's on your mind tonight?
Well, I was thinking about, we've been recording that Caught My Eye video
Yeah.
and going through all that information and stuff. And one of the stories is regarding a surgeon who had a near-death experience. And if you remember when you and I started going out, I sent you that Life After Life by Raymond Moody.
Yeah, the book, yeah.
Which is surprising me because he was a surgeon. And you know how doctors always say, oh, it's just this chemical DMT thing going on in your brain so you can ease into death and not panic and all this kind of crap. But now you have medical doctors that are going, hey, there's really something going on here. And they didn't they just recently detect some measurement that proves that the body loses? It's not that old 1900s one where they weighed somebody dying.
Yeah.
This one had something to do with the brain activity, I think, after death.
I've heard that you...
Something about after such amount of time, they start picking up signals.
Well, after you're dead.
After you're dead,
or
something like that. But they think that it's when a person is going through this NDE.
Right.
I have to check on that because it was a recent discovery that I kind of went, what do you know? What have you heard about NDEs besides like what I?
Well, I was just going to ask you that. What you watched that Nurse Judy? Is it Nurse
Julie?
Julie.
Uh-huh.
And she has her stories about patients dying and whatever.
And she works in what do you call
Hospice care.
Hospice care.
How
yes.
much of that tells us Moody's research from when was it, the 70s and 80s?
No, gosh, that was back in the early 70s, late 60s.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I just wondered how much tallied. You know, are there echoes of that?
There are so many stories that tally.
Really?
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if you're religious, if you're not religious, if you're Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Native, traditional, whatever your belief system is. The experiences they describe are very parallel.
Because there was that thought, wasn't there, that depending on your religion is what you go through. So this, however many virgins and things in that religion, then you would experience that. Or if you expected to see a welcoming committee of St. Peter or something,
I think
you
it's
get
because you hear it from the people who come back from other belief systems, that they are greeted by a spiritual being that resonates with what their idea of that spiritual being looks like.
Right.
Or feels like. And that's one thing, is that they don't really say that they see Jesus, or they feel the presence, the ever-loving presence and acceptance of now Christians will say Jesus.
So they put that person to the emotion, to the experience, rather than actually seeing it. Rather than like, in a way, an AI image generator in your head decides what they're going to look like.
Pretty much. I mean, didn't you grow up when your parents were describing God to you? Did you, or when you went to Sunday school or whatever, didn't you kind of get somehow, and I don't know how, this maybe through media or something, the old gray man in a long white robe,
Yeah, but in our case, there was Jeremy who did the illustrations for a book, and he depicted the God character in that way. You do get some people saying, oh...
Is that a Renaissance? Kind of like Cupid's came around at Renaissance? Did they...
Well, and the White Jesus,
the White Jesus, yeah. Is that when they... Who decided God was white, old, gray hair, beard, long beard, and,
I know, he's ugly.
But that is kind of what you grow up with,
He's ugly for a woman, isn't he?
No, why? Why when I hear Allah, I just have a cartoon picture in my head of a man in a turban riding on a horse up to heaven.
Not with Putin behind him?
No.
What? Shirtless Putin.
That's not right.
Shirtless Putin on a horse.
Oh, Lord. Oh, my God.
Behind Allah. Oh, good Lord, eh? I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. How do you phrase that one? Anyway, wiped from the mind.
And Middle Eastern man, and it's
Well,
just
yeah,
a
with the black,
simple drawing
with the black beard,
beard. Yeah,
yeah.
it's so weird how we get these iconic images in our head.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was in high school, my civics teacher who served in Korea was so upset when he went to a Catholic church there and saw a statue of the Virgin Mary with, as he said, slanted eyes.
Oh my. How did he be upset?
And he said, because he said Mary didn't have slanted eyes, she was white.
And they were blue.
And they were
Because she always
blue.
walked around in a blue outfit, didn't she?
Yeah. That's just a symbol that they put on there for her purity and righteousness.
But it's an example of it. I mean, here's a question for you. People often mention St. Peter's up there when you get there, right? And he's in charge of the gates or whatever.
Tell me what you see.
Right, well, exactly. What colour hair has he got?
He's got a bald head with a ring.
Does
he? The monk ring, and it's gray, and he's got a long beard. He's holding a tablet with a podium next to him, and there's scrolly gold gates with the bars.
Ah, of course. With
and
you're standing on clouds. Yes,
and of course it's cartoon.
Yes. It is a very strange thing. We're programmed.
Yep.
But that's the essence of perhaps what a lot of people would say. We're programmed. We're running programs. We're running a program.
Well, I've seen art from like Middle Eastern and African Christians who do depict Jesus and his family as black or brown.
Yeah.
With like traditional that area hairstyle.
So this is where it gets very interesting to me also, is that, so you're saying that Moody and Nurse Julie, their stories tally. Does that happen in different cultures all around the world with the reports?
This is what I've been through study after study after study. They've said that it has not mattered where you live, what your belief system is, how you die, whatever. You are going to have a similar experience of, like, this doctor in this story that Nurse Julie covered said it felt like peace and then more peace. She didn't even realize she died.
Oh, okay.
And then she felt like she was in this beautiful grassy field, and she felt the presence of family she knew, but she didn't see them. And all they told her was, you have to go back. And I can say this because...
you've left the cooker on.
But no, this is even sadder. And I can say this because we're going to run this after our Caught My Eye, right?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. What she said is she was told she has to go back because her son is going to die.
Oh.
And he's going to need her.
Wow.
I'm getting chills just saying this.
Yeah.
So she gladly went back, actually, because she knew when her son was going to die, he was going to come to this.
Okay.
So, although she lived with this information, she didn't tell her husband. She just went on with her life, knowing that at any moment her son was going to die. And she was prepared.
And she had no knowledge of him with an illness or anything else?
No. And I don't recall what he did pass from, but he died 10 years later.
10 years? There's nothing you could have known beforehand.
Yeah. And just think, if he was a young kid, I don't think he was, I think he passed away when he was 19 or 20 or something like that.
Okay.
If his mother stayed where she was, didn't go back to be with him, he would have had that 10 years full of grief at her passing.
Before he was...
So her going back was really a gift. I mean, of course it was. But she gave that up, knew she had to save, give this for her son.
Yeah.
And be there and help him through his transition.
Isn't that a really weird way of putting it? She had to be there. Didn't really perhaps want to, because where she'd gone to was...
Right, exactly.
Which is really weird,
But she accepted it because she knew that her son was going to go to that peace.
It's a strange way of putting it, though, isn't it? Because we all feel, we're glad to wake up in the morning. But that kind of person is doing that for a mission, for somebody else, really. He's staying alive for a son.
What is so sad, though, is people with depression, mental health issues, see these near-death experiences and go, geez, it's so wonderful there. My life is so horrible here.
Oh, okay.
However, I have heard about NDE experiences with suicide victims. I don't know if you can say that. I have to believe that, probably. People who off themselves. Is that they know there's consequences after they pass for their actions, and it isn't going to be that peaceful place.
Right. There's lessons to be learned because you took your life that way.
Right.
You're going to learn them, and it's
Right.
a bit more of a harsh experience. Because I've heard that too, you know. Well, what you said earlier, you wanted to talk about Ouija boards. And this is a kind of a transition, I'm sorry for jumping ahead.
Oh, no, that's okay.
But about people, when I used to, I mean, this is it as a kid, you know, teenager, and I was told that you, on the board, you have to go for training sessions, you have to go away for a while. We would ask if somebody was there that we'd met, say, a session before or whatever. No, they're away training. It's like a coursework thing. You have to learn how to unhuman yourself. It could be, you know, to become more of a spirit type, to become closer, to get more of the change in energy, to stop thinking in terms of second by second. You can also, of course, learn then how to put yourself in different places all at the same time. And all these things that you don't know when you're alive, you're very much chained to the second per second and getting older and getting greyer and everything as you go along at the moment. It's not the case over there.
If you believe, in people being able to raise their energies and stuff,
Depends what that
you
means.
know, like, yeah, and become more open-minded and more accepting, and your chakras open, and, you know.
Okay.
Anyway, then once when you pass, you have that same level of spiritual energy raising. And as your energy rises, you learn more lessons.
Your point there would be if you're on the path of something already, it'd be easier for you when you do pass over because you've got a head start in a way of your learning.
Wouldn't this blow your mind? If what we conceive of as heaven isn't the final stop, what if there's something after that?
Oh, I think there probably is.
I mean, like
a clearinghouse.
I can't even imagine ultimate bliss, but that must be what it is.
So, yeah, in terms of the effects that people have and the experience lengths, I've heard that, you see, when you dream, apparently, your dream may only last 30 seconds, but you swear it's been 4 hours.
Yeah.
Is there not a case for saying the whole death experience could be just 2 seconds worth as the brain shutting down, but you feel that it's lasted hours and hours?
Well, yeah, people report that. You know, that they've been revived after, I mean, say the whole revival process, but from the time the heart gets beating, doctors will report that it takes anywhere from 5 minutes to a half hour or whatever to revive this patient. And they have been dead for that long, and they think that they have spent months and sometimes even years in heaven with their family, with their friends, and things like that.
Well, what gets me on all that is you won't be able to smell, hear, taste, touch. Your senses won't be there.
You don't think so? What's reported is that everything is so much more heightened that you couldn't even
Of course, because well, guess what I'm doing? I'm putting the second by second onto it.
You're doing a limit.
It's been physically half an hour, but in a different reality, it's been.
We can't conceive of what.
That's true, isn't it?
Because things I've been told is that once you pass, you get into all consciousness where you have the 360-degree perception.
Right.
And then you start experiencing these feelings of Jesus' love and acceptance. And
so, is there a point of view that says when you go to sleep and you dream, you may be in a different reality?
Yeah, that's been philosophized several times.
Yeah. So if it only takes 20 seconds for the dream, but you think it's been 4 hours, you ain't here. You are somewhere else.
Yeah.
Or the mind has slowed or sped up in a certain way for
Well,
regenerative reasons
I
to
mean,
make
you
it feel
could go
that way.
all the way down to saying you're always generating your own reality anyway.
Here's another,
I mean...
Yeah. Here's another one. Do you ever partially wake up and get stuck at a point in a dream that you kind of want to carry on, but the damn thing doesn't go any further?
I've actually been able to wake up and then continue the dream.
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't wake up, like, to go to the bathroom, come back. It's just like a wake up.
Yeah, where were we then? And off you go again. No, that's true.
But I don't lucid dream very much.
But I did have a thought, a long time ago, that you might get caught in a loop when you die. That you experience something and it goes back, like a bloody short on YouTube, right? And it keeps going back. And those wonderful ones that just loop. The end point loops round to the start, and you're not sure where the start and the finish of the video are, because it loops so well.
That's scary.
Yeah, you've not seen those.
Why would you want... That would be like purgatory for me.
Yeah, but no, what it does is what
thing.
it would do then is kind of like have a fade effect, such that you don't even know where you've been at and gone to and come from, and that's it. That's the end of your existence.
Well,
it just loops around.
People do report going through a life review.
Yeah.
And feeling the emotions of everybody they've been good to and everybody they've hurt. And that's pretty much how the judgment is you feel yourself what you made that other person feel.
And there's a sort of devil's advocate about that. You've had your whole life to internally work that out about other people. I'm not sure why it'd be so important to have that dump at the end as a kind of a memory dump.
Well,
just being a literalist.
It's kind of, and what they've said is that at the end of this life review, the loving presence doesn't give any judgment. It just engulfs you in love and acceptance for who you are. But you have gone through other people's pain. Yeah. And you have gone through other people's joy.
Right, that's another good way of putting it.
Yeah, really, you don't have to focus on the negative. It's not like, so don't hurt people. It's so, why don't you go out and help people? Make people happy. But I will say, with Mom dying last year, watching Hospice Nurse Julie, and this other channel I can't recall right now, but it was all about NDEs.
Yeah.
And I recall seeing one shortly before Mom passed. I just said, okay, I'm fine with this. I'm happy for her. This is going to be wonderful. Great.
That is fantastic. Actually, you got to that point before she died.
I never did with Bruce and never did with Dad.
Yeah.
But, I mean, one of the last words I said to Mom is, Mom, you're going to go on a wonderful journey.
Yes, I remember that call.
No,
I do.
But this one gentleman on this other channel was talking about his near-death experience. And he said he was brought up there and went through this life review and met the Jesus presence. And the guy said, so this life review, is that it? And this Jesus presence said, well, yeah. He said, well...
What do you want, exactly?
Yeah,
Hey, dude, this is our gig, not yours.
You've made mistakes, people have been hurt, but you're forgiven. And you are loved, and you are accepted. And this guy said that everything was overwhelming joy. And that he did see some of his relatives, but then he was told he had to come back. I don't recall. Oh, I recall the one thing he said. He said to this Jesus figure, he said, but I don't go to church.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't read the Bible. And Jesus said, well, that's okay.
See if I care, type of thing.
Yeah.
I must have gone against a few people.
So, and that's the thing, is that he called it a Jesus presence. And that's like back to the point where others would call it an Allah presence, others would call it a Buddha presence, others would call it, So, when he said that, I felt like, and he said there was just so much joy. I just thought, cool. What better place can Mom go?
Yeah.
And especially with Dad and Bruce there already.
Yeah, what they say is...
And Grandpa and Grandma, boy, should she miss them.
You meet your relatives and such. What if there's relatives you don't much care for? I mean...
You know what, though? I think it's everything becomes love and acceptance. And like those people, I don't know how to explain it. I think you all become one kind of thing. But that's my Taoist part.
No, what I was going to say was, it's something you might not care for, but when you get over there, they're not that person anymore. They're the energy side to that
and
presence.
you also realize that the pettiness just isn't worth it.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, they're not going to hand you the $20 back that they owed you when you were, you know.
Right, and you definitely aren't going to feel like punching them in the eye, you know, or anything.
Yeah.
Because they've learned their lesson, you've gone through your lesson, and, you know, if there is any kind of recognition, I would say it'd be like looking at each other and going, that was stupid, wasn't it? Yeah, I know. You know?
Yeah.
Watching these NDE videos really helped me accept Mom's death and my own.
A very important message.
Yeah.
In more ways than one.